Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paddock Podcast. Now, as we speak, Leny Yoro is currently undergoing a medical for Manchester United. It looks like that deal is on the verge of happening. It could happen any moment now. And it is a bit of a surprise. It certainly was to me this morning when I was about to do the news and we did a live video. We've jumped on a podcast. It is Wednesday. We usually do the Paddock Podcast on a Monday, but what an opportune moment to do the podcast where we're about to sign one of the most sought-after young defenders in Europe. Joining me is Mr. Joe Smith, who's very excited.
Isn't it? It's exciting. Honestly, I didn't think this was going to happen.
No.
I thought there was a chance. I thought I would have maybe said sort of 25, 30% chance that we got this deal done. Even after we saw the reports of United having an offer accepted from Lille, even then, I would have put this at less than 50%. Then we hear this morning that basically his party have agreed it, that they are up for the deal, and that a medical can take place today. I think that we're trying to get this medical done as quickly as possible so Real Madrid can't go, actually, we found 60 million euros, we'll be taking him. Because obviously if that happens, even now, there is a tiny chance that Real Madrid could do that. But the fact that he's accepted United, and assuming this isn't all some big ruse to get Real Madrid to do a final last-minute bid for him, this is hugely exciting for me because, you know, he's one of those players that I haven't seen hundreds of games of him. No one has. But the people who have seen him, the people who talk about him, we're getting some stats. We've got loads of people who have seen him before as well. Everyone says this guy's the real deal.
Yep.
This guy. One thing to remember quickly: we're linked with Jared Branthwaite. In 4 years' time, 4 years worth of experience, Leny Yoro will be the same age as the sort of coming through young star that is Jared Branthwaite. He's got 4 more years of growth before he's the same age as Jared Branthwaite.
Like a presidential candidate.
Ridiculous.
4 more years.
4 years' time.
That's true. Me as well, I want to give you a little intro because joining me also here, as always on the Paddock Podcast, is Mr. Ronaldo Brown. Ronnie, I always associate you when it comes to transfer targets and the players that you talk about. You've got quite high standards. You're not one who's easily pleased with a target. I don't see you getting all giddy on Twitter going, we've been linked with this player. Wow, I can't wait. But you've been chatting about Leny Yoro for quite some time now. What are your thoughts on his
signing? Yeah, Leny Yoro was someone that at first grabbed my attention back in about October, November time. But that was just generally because I saw little murmurings about there being this centre half in France that's only 18, that's starting week in, week out for Lille, which when people are looking at that, I think he's just starting for Lille, as if it's probably a team that's in the bottom embers of Ligue 1. They weren't. They were. I think they finished fourth. I think they finished in the Champions League places, and they had a decent season. And we're talking about an 18-year-old now that has 16 league games at the age of 18 and made his debut when he was 16. But it's just more about the player that he could be, and there was so much similarities between this kind of transfer that we've gone for in terms of Euro to when we tried to go get Varane all those years ago, and we lost out to Real Madrid.
Remember it well.
And we lost out to Real Madrid then, and then Varane's obviously gone on to fulfil all his potential.
There we go. You see, we got there in the end, Ronnie.
So that's what we are literally banking on Euro doing the same. But Euro is the best centre half talent under 21 in world football, and United have signed him, and we are banking on him possibly becoming, and everyone tends to believe he has a potential to become arguably the best centre half in the world if he's managed correctly. And these are the signings that we've been asking United to do for years. I'm not necessarily going to say he's ready to come in now and transform United and starting week in, week out, because he's 18 years old. And the thing is about when centre halves are very good young, it's usually a good sign because centre halves peak later, don't they? Because so much of the position comes with experience and learning angles and becoming comfortable and becoming a leader, almost like growing into it. They have longer peaks as well. So if all goes well with Yoro, it's a very scary prospect, and the transfer that we are paying for him seems excessive to some people, but it can end up looking like a bargain. And you know what it's like when United transfers. That's what's annoyed me all day, the way the fees have been inflated so much. And all of a sudden,
a little joke about this. It's going to be in rupees soon because they use whatever currency they can to make the number higher. So rather than saying 45 or 50 million quid, they'll say 65 million euros.
Yeah, because all of a sudden,
Zimbabwean dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Italian lira doesn't exist anymore. We'll bring that in.
All of a sudden, I think when United do fees or transfers, they're always reported by rival fans and by some journalists in euros. But I don't see that done for...
They also like to throw in the wages as well, like to make the package So it's like £100 million package or whatever. They'd like to throw that in. We'll get into all that. Listen, we're not just going to have bluster and just chat about Leny Yoro. We're going to have some facts, some stats, opinions from people that have watched a lot of him. You've been doing scouting stuff on him as well. So we'll get into the nitty gritty. So make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think about this signing. Let us know if you know anything about the kid as well and how you feel this is going to pan out. Do you expect him to come straight into the side? Is this more long term? Do you think this deal is definitely going to get done? Because as Joe mentioned there, it's not done yet. It's not signed quite yet. Although when the player's having a medical, then unless it's Willian to Spurs, it usually means he's coming to Manchester United. So get involved in the chat in the comments and hit that like button. Joe.
There's a few things that we want to get to. It says obviously on the title, there's 3 things. The first of these things that I want to talk about, because he's known as being a ball carrier, ball progressor. We'll get to that. But something that he's often criticised for is his lack of sort of aerial, it's not even aerial ability, but it's his lack of aerial presence. Right. He's 6'3", he's a big guy, but he gets talked about often that he's not great in the air, he's not particularly good in the air. He doesn't take many aerial duels. That's the criticism, really. He doesn't have a lot of aerial duels. But that's what people have turned into a criticism. Yeah. But he wins 64% of his aerial duels, which is the second best aerial dueler of all under 21 centre backs in Europe. So I've just said it. Of the under 21 centre backs in Europe, he's got the second best aerial duel percentage. Okay. So he's fantastic in the air, especially for his age. Also, under 21, he's 18, so he's got another 3 years to get better. Like, he's someone that the 18 thing is such a staggering thing for a centre back. Like Ronaldo mentioned it before. Centre backs are never 18. Young centre backs are 23. Like I mentioned before, Jared Branthwaite. Jared Branthwaite is a young centre-back, and I'm not even saying this to diss him, because he is a young centre-back. 22 is a young centre-back. He's 4 years older than Leny Yoro. Yeah. Like, we think of 18, 17, 18. When you think of the youngsters that come through at 17 and 18, they are all attackers. Almost always. It's very rare for central midfielders. That's why Mainu is such a sort of staggering prospect. But the further back you go, the more and more rare it becomes for someone to be 18 playing. That is just generally speaking.
I think there's a reason for that. I think with forward players as a youngster, it's easier to transition. It's never like easy, but it's easier than being a defender and transitioning to men's football, because part of what makes forward playing football great is that ability for like expression, and sometimes that youthful exuberance does kind of help you when you're an attacker, and you've got like a little bit more leeway to make mistakes and do certain things, whereas there's so much more responsibility in a way, being a centre half especially, that you very rarely see young centre halves come through and become first team like stalwarts very early, because there's so much burden playing that position, especially nowadays with the high lines, etc. And it's something you do have to learn, because half of the game being a defender is mental. I sometimes said I can attribute the same thing that people say when they analyse basketball. Is said half of what makes you a good defender in basketball is like you just purely just want to. Sometimes I think it's the same in football. I think the best defenders are the ones that just have that kind of innate mentality of, I'm stopping this forward get the better of me, and I want to stop him scoring more than he wants to score. Just that kind of mentality, and also just learning kind of angles, how to intercept certain balls, learning tendencies. I think it's quite a cerebral position, and I think when you're 18, there's so much more development to come that literally it could be anything. And to be playing that many games at that level that he's playing it in the Europa League, it's not, and playing as one of the best teams in France, we've got every reason to be excited. And
another reason with people further back, you have less young players the further back you come on the pitch, is if you give the ball away in the final third because you tried a skill, or you've been rash, or look at Garnacho the season before this one. Every time he gets the ball, he's going at the defender, trying to beat the defender. You can lose the ball 15 times a game and it doesn't cost you the game. If you're a goalkeeper or a centre-back and you are a ball-playing centre-back who's 18 and you make a rash decision because you're 18, you've lost the game. Yeah. Like, the margin for error is so much smaller the further back you are on the pitch. That's why Mainu, again, is so impressive, because he never gives the ball away. Because if you do, they're onto your defence and they might score. You mentioned before, Ronaldo, about the links to Varane. And there's an Athletic article a couple of months ago, before United had there was rumours, but he hadn't been truly linked to Manchester United the way he had been. And they talk about Raphael Varane here. And they say, every big club watching Yoro will be thinking the same thing. How can we create a pathway to get the best out of him? This is according to a scout in France called, what's his name here? Let me get it. Sorry. Jonathan Johnson.
Jonathan Johnson,
which is a fantastic name.
He
says Yoro is the top of the list among defensive prospects in France. He said, I think what probably interests the French public the most is the parallel between him and Raphael Varane. They come from different sides of the Lille-Lens divide, but Varane showed at a very, very early age that he was ready to take a big step up. He also said, this was a Premier League scout who was talking about Yoro as well. He said that every big club watching Yoro will be thinking the same thing. Like I mentioned before, how can we create the pathway that gets the best out of him? He has an outstanding physical profile and can cover ground extremely well, but he's also braver and more comfortable on the ball than he seems. He reminds me of a young Rio Ferdinand. So if we can get somewhere between Rio Ferdinand and Raphael Varane, we might be doing all right here. Like you said, Ronaldo, these are people who have seen more of him than I have or than we have. And people talk about him to that degree, don't they? This isn't like, no, he's a good player, like Jared Branthwaite. Again, I'm using him and I like him. I think he's a good player. But this guy's been spoken about like we're watching the next big centre-back here. Obviously, that might not happen. Things, people can stagnate. Injuries can set in.
Also, develop properly.
He needs to develop properly. And that's United's big step now. How do we get the best out of him? Because we've continually not got the best out of our signings, especially our young signings over the last few years. So many people have come here and not got any better or have got worse. We need to start see the momentum shift that where people come to Man United and 2 years later you go, bloody hell, look how far they've come. Not, they didn't really turn out to be the player we wanted. That's my worry. Like that we get another young player here and 2 years later we go, it's probably not the player we thought. But really, it's the club and the situation they're in rather than the player themselves' fault. That is a bit of a worry, isn't it?
I think we... Sorry, go on. Sorry. No, go on, Ronnie. Go on.
Because I was going to say, we have every reason to be excited, but we also need to, as fans, we need to temper expectations a little bit because, as we are saying, as good as he is and as good as he can be, he's still young and he's very raw still and needs time to develop and he's making a significant step up. So we don't become expecting him to come in and just like revolutionise the back four straight away. Starting week in, week out. I think he needs time to develop, and if we allow that and do it correctly, then we have someone that can start as our centre half as one of the best in the world for over a decade. But we need to be careful with next season of him coming in and just being like starting week in, week out and expecting him to be like the best centre half in the world straight away. He might make mistakes, be raw at points, but I think we need to stick with him, support him, because United now need to turn into a club that aren't just smart where the transfers in the window, but need to be smart in terms of their development of players as well.
Can I give you the second thing?
Go on. Go on. Or to make a point, but go on.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No. It's just you mentioning there, like United, we've bought players and we haven't developed some, or they haven't kicked on, or they've gotten worse. And I agree with everything you've said completely. This is a little bit of a shift on it because it's quite rare for us to buy an 18-year-old. Like we've bought 22, 23, 24-year-olds. Like quite regularly. The likes of Paul Pogba, big signings. Romelu Lukaku, I think, was in his early 20s when we brought him. But to go out and buy an actual teenager and spend a lot of money on a teenager, even by United standards, I know we spent a lot of money on Rasmus Højlund. He was almost, he was 20. It's not far off. But that's quite rare for Manchester United. This does feel a little bit different. Not just the fact we've managed to get this deal over the line, or it seems like we're going to get this deal over the line when Real Madrid are interested in him, which you probably wouldn't have done even a year ago. You thought that's not happening. But also the fact that we're going for a teenager, an 18-year-old, in a obviously a vital position for us. It does seem a little bit different.
It is a bit Real Madrid-y, really, isn't it? And obviously they would do it. I've seen loads of Real Madrid fans and like accounts and anti-United fans as much as it is being pro-Madrid fans of saying how we've overspent for him and 50 million, I think rising up to somewhere around 60 million, being this like ludicrous fee. But look at some of the fees that have happened over the last few years. Didn't Real Madrid pay like 60 million for Endrick or 60 million euros or something?
I think Endrick's 35 million base add-ons, but the addons can take
the add-ons
it up to
are
70.
ridiculous.
Yeah, can take it up to 70.
Yeah, and they did a similar thing with Vinicius Junior, which worked out. They did a similar thing with Rodrigo, which looks like it's going to work out.
I would say Real Madrid generally don't pay over the odds. And
but they spent 100 million euros on Tchouaméni.
On Hazard as well.
And on Hazard as well.
That window when he put... Who else did they put? Was it...
Jovic up front, 60 million.
I'd still say for the most part Real Madrid are quite well run, and the thing is the reason why they're able to do that, and they usually don't pay over the odds. They have the occasional flop, as you'd say, is because they succeed so much and win so much, and because they sit at the top of world football, that they have such pull in terms of players wanting to go there, that they can just sit and wait for players to can pick and choose when they want to sign them, when they've got like a year left and they've got some sort of leverage. And I think when Real Madrid knocks, apart from today, like players usually answer and clubs usually answer as well. But the fact that Real Madrid were in for him in the first place shows the talent he was. And I don't believe that the whole unbothered gimmick that their fans are putting across. I think Real Madrid were just really confident that they're able to get him. And I think the fact that United have been able to sign him ahead of him, I think that's actually shocked him a little bit. And now they're doing the whole
we don't care anyway.
We don't really care anyway.
Also, just to clarify, I wasn't saying that Real Madrid have made bad signings. That wasn't my point. My point was that what we're doing isn't unlike teams like Real Madrid who have been successful. People are saying we're being stupid here. This is a bad idea. Too much money for an 18-year-old, whatever. But this is what other clubs do. This is what Barcelona do when they had money. They used to anyway. This is what Real Madrid do. This is what, I mean, to a lesser degree, in the past, Chelsea have done similar things as well. And just someone in the comments said Madrid didn't pay that much for Tchouaméni. It was 80 million euros with 20 million in add-ons, so they did.
Well, the other question as well is, what should United be doing right now? Should United be going out and spending, 60 million on a defender who is probably not as good as the top level?
And I'd hate to say
27 or should we do that?
Hate to say it, we spent £80 million on Harry Maguire.
Well, that's what I mean. No, do we do that? Is that what we should be spending the 60 million euros on? Yeah. Should we be going out and getting a player who perhaps isn't at the very, very top?
50 mil for Wan-Bissaka?
Yeah, or should we be getting the next big thing? This makes more sense to me than us going out and spending a similar amount of money on a player who probably wouldn't get into a lot of the top teams. And I'm not saying Leny Yoro would right now, but there's every chance in a few years he'd walk into most teams.
And what's interesting to me with this whole Yoro and Branthwaite discourse is PSG, Liverpool and Real Madrid were also in for Leny Yoro and had interest in him. I've not seen anyone but Manchester United be interested in Jared Branthwaite. So what does that say? I mean, in terms of because there's this notion, obviously Everton have come out and said, can't believe that United have spent that much on Yoro instead of going for Branthwaite. Obviously they're just upset. I think they were able to kind of swindle United more than they did, thinking it was the old regime. But it's just interesting to me that they felt like they had that much leverage when United were the only club that were showing really interest so far in this window, whereas Leny Yoro had interest from some of the other bigger clubs in Europe.
You mentioned there about Everton, and there's been a report in the MEM, which I think you're referencing there, just so in case anyone didn't see it, that supposedly figures at Everton are surprised United have agreed a steep fee for Leny Yoro, a defender that's a lot younger than Branthwaite, who is out of contract next year, has no international experience and plays in Ligue 1. That's according to the MEM. So,
well, what's it got to do with them?
Well, exactly.
Like, what are they getting involved for? It's figures at Everton. Mind your fucking business. It's got nothing to do with you. Like, figures at Everton, because they're so, experienced in making great signings throughout their history, aren't they? That has been an absolute bin fire of a football club for about the last 50 years. So I don't know what they're getting involved for.
Just on that, I'm sorry to do this. There was a thingy earlier. There was a tweet earlier that I seen towards Everton.
Figures at Everton.
It was hilarious about the way that kind of just. The way Everton have made it seem like Jared Branthwaite is this unbelievable talent that's worth £80 million that they definitely won't sell unless we pay up for it, and now extremely upset that they get to keep Branthwaite.
That's what I mean.
How does that?
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
How does that make sense?
Figures at Everton have stuck the nose in and decided this is a bad deal for Manchester United. Well, I'm sorry, it's got absolutely nothing to do with you. So you just bore off.
Yeah, and judging what is a good and bad deal isn't exactly the Everton hierarchy.
Oh yeah, he's signing Neil Maupay a good deal. He's spending loads of money on I don't know Michael Keane. Was that a good deal?
I've seen a tweet. Is United Robo put Lille aren't in financial turmoil. Yoro had interest from other major clubs in the world. Yoro fits seamlessly next to Martinez. The guaranteed money is around 42 to 50 million. We only bidded 45 million for Branthwaite. Maybe this lack of basic understanding is why Everton have always broke the rules.
Right, I'm not being funny. I'm not hating on Everton fans, right, or that club, but I don't get their argument here. I don't understand what, like Ronnie's saying. Like, are you annoyed that we're not buying Jared Branthwaite now when you was annoyed when we were buying him? It looks like we're not going to buy him. I don't get why they're even figures at Everton are even getting involved in this. It's like us getting involved in what, I don't know, Leicester City are doing.
And by the way,
it's nothing to do with us.
I know for a fact as well, I know this factually, that Branthwaite, if he had the opportunity to release himself from your contract and come to United, he would do it tomorrow.
There you go.
So that I don't understand
Factual.
where this comes. So this is that's because that's the funny part to me, and also to kind of gas up the Leny Yoro transfer even more.
Yeah.
I've found out from a very, very good source that Leny Yoro is the truth, and he's been saying it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I love this. Is this source Stephen Howson?
Yeah.
No, it's not Stephen Howson.
I was going to say that.
It's I've got mutual friends.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That
we've been in and amongst it.
That as a friend that played last season.
Yeah.
With Leny Yoro.
Yeah.
So you can work that out.
Okay.
I think we can.
Yeah, with our extensive knowledge of Lille players, it's obvious to me that is.
He's been raving about Leny Yoro, so I asked for a little check, and apparently Leny Yoro is unbelievable. It's the truth.
Yeah. And so you're 100% now, Liz.
According to a teammate of his.
And you trust this
not
guy's
teammate
opinion?
anymore.
Yeah.
Well, he played with him for a year, didn't he?
Right, well, that's good enough for me. Sorry if I've been distracted on my phone. A lot of people saying a lot of noise about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Is there anything happening there, or is that just people discussing what we already know?
Some journalists.
I don't want to change the subject just quickly if there's any breaking news.
No, I don't think there's anything that's obvious that's breaking. I think people were talking about a tweet earlier that someone did about Wan-Bissaka going to
West Ham.
Hello,
is that West Ham?
I don't know if that's 100% done. It looks like it's one of them where someone on the West Ham side, who's very reliable for West Ham, has said that a deal could get done there around 15 million. But I don't think it's confirmed.
Sorry to see him going. I know a lot of people aren't, but I will be, and it looks like there could be something there.
Can I talk a bit more about Leny Yoro?
Let's get back to what is happening.
So there's a few things I want to get into, and these are some of his stats compared to other under-21 centre-backs. So again, he's got 3 years on some of these in terms of growth, progression, time to come through and improve on this. He's made the most passes of any under-21 centre-back in Europe's top 5 leagues.
Super.
The most accurate passes. Over 1,700 passes in the league last season, which is the most by a teenager in any position in Europe's top 5 leagues. So he's not just good at passing for a centre-back or comfortable on the ball for a centre-back. He's one of those, like occasionally you'll see it where Ruben Diaz or whatever or John Stones will have 140 passes in a game.
Yeah.
It's that sort of equivalent for a player of his age. He's the second of all under 21, like we mentioned before, centre-backs for aerial duels won per 90, and the fourth in most tackles made. Just a bit more on what people have said about him, because again, we're not Lille fans. We like him, we like what we've seen, we've done research, we've looked into him, but we're not someone who watches him every week. What's his name? Fonseca, the former Lille manager, who I think literally left at the end of this season, Paulo Fonseca. He was talking about Lille and talking about playing him as a substitute in May 2022 when he was 16, I think. So he said Leny at that time was still 16 and had the idea then that it would just be for pre-season, like just bringing him on for a little pre-season game. After 2 days, I said, no, he'll stay with us here. For me, players don't age if they have talent. In some cases, like with Leny, it was so easy to understand that he would be important to the team. He also said, in all my years as a coach, I've never seen a young player with so much maturity. He has so much class, so much elegance. He's a beautiful player. Like another scout working for a major Italian club, when he spoke to Yoro, he said he laughs about it now and said, I heard plenty about him, but I wasn't blown away. But we're always saying that development isn't linear. At that age, Yoro is a really good example of that. He's made amazing progress in the last 2 years. So he's someone that seems to be growing almost exponentially in terms of quality. I mean, we might get him. He might not handle the speed and the physicality of the Premier League. You're going to probably see a meme of Haaland putting him on his arse, or Darwin Núñez in that second game of the season knocking him over and putting one in the back of the net. These things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be like you said, Ronaldo. He is potential. You look at his stats, and I know stats don't cover everything, but overall, his stats don't show him to be the best centre-back in Europe right now. And we have to remember that there's a bridge between potential and reality. And it's not his fault if he looks like a raw, very talented, but slightly maybe underexperienced 18-year-old, because that's what he is. And hopefully we'll see big chunks of the season, or certainly games where actually, if he can play like that every week, well, we've got a top player on our hands, but it probably won't be every week.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't be excited now, and we can't get a little bit giddy and look at all these people saying he's the best young player they've ever seen. Like, I think we should be a little bit excited here.
Yeah, definitely. Go on.
Yeah, I think, and before Jay, I think getting rid of Lindelof and then being able to kind of use that to finance the deal for Ligt, who seems keen to come, I'd see that as a great transfer, because Ligt could even start ahead of Yoro for the time being, just because he has a bit more experienced, and it kind of takes the pressure off an 18-year-old that doesn't need time to develop as good as he is. I think them two alternating the right centre-half position with Martinez as a left centre-half, I think that is, with Maguire still there, probably maybe just for his leadership, and obviously you do need a bit of that sometimes in the change room, especially 100%. If you don't get a decent fee for him. I think that would be a great centre-half quartet, but him being the signing to come in as a right centre-half and start week in, week out, I don't think that's what he should be. I think United should try and get someone else as well. That kind of alleviates that pressure a little bit.
You'd expect him to, wouldn't you? You make a good point there, Ronnie, because we lost Willy Camboala the other day. I know he wasn't first choice, but he played some minutes last season. Raphael Varane, who was first choice, if he was fit, he started. We saw it in the FA Cup final. That wasn't the manager giving him a farewell appearance. That was the manager playing his best centre-back pairing, which was Lisandro Martinez and Raphael Varane. So Varane's gone. So you're weaker now than you were last season. And last season we were weak. So obviously bringing in Leny Yoro would be great, and I can't wait to see him play for Manchester United. But that shouldn't be enough. We do need more. We need another centre-back. And if Ligt is keen, like Ronnie says, and that's what all the reports seem to be indicating, then again, it just... I don't say this very often about Manchester United, but it makes sense. Everything they're doing at the minute seems to make a lot of sense. Joshua Zirkzee makes sense if you're going to have someone who's either going to rotate or be a backup to Rasmus Højlund. Leny Yoro makes sense if you're looking at the budget you've got and potentially buying one of the best young centre-backs in the world. And Ligt again, that would be a sensible signing. Hopefully it's one we can get done.
Florian Plettenberg, obviously, who's been on the channel, German transfer expert, journalist, guru, said 6 hours ago, Manchester United not willing to spend the €50 million plus add-ons demanded for Ligt at this stage. Therefore, no final offer to Bayern yet. United also prioritised the transfer of Leny Yoro for this reason. Now he's on the verge of undergoing his medical with United, as per David Ornstein. Agreement between Lille and United was in place. He will probably sign a contract until 2029 plus one, as reported. So
this is a good point that Ronnie was making earlier, and you touched upon as well, is this idea that you don't want this kid to be forced to play loads because we haven't got enough options, because it's either him or it's Casemiro or someone at centre-back, so we're just going to keep playing him, and even if he needs a breather, he don't get one because we haven't got enough players. Like, we have to have options. And I know Johnny Evans has signed an extension, which I'm pleased about, but he's 37 or 36, 37. He didn't play as many games last season as he probably wanted because he kept getting injured, because injuries were catching up with him because of his age. You can't rely on him to play that many games anyway. Lisandro Martinez, hopefully he'll stay a lot fitter this season than he has last season. Luke Shaw, I know, can play at left centre-back, but again, he's had injury problems. You just want options there. Harry Maguire, for me, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he is an option. Yeah. I don't think Vince Lindelof is. I'm on it. I want to see him out the door. No disrespect to the guy, I just don't think he's good enough. But if we can get in Ligt, then, or if that's under consideration, I think we need to push for that, because I think United need another option. We don't just want to bring this kid in and, like we have done with some young players. You mentioned earlier, Joe, about us signing young players and they're not progressing, not kicking on like they should have. And I said, usually it's not 18-year-olds. I know it can be. Like, I think Andy Martial was 18. But players coming through often don't kick on the way we want them to, because they're mismanaged, because they're played when they're injured, or they're played out of position, or they played too many games and then they lose a bit of form and they carry on getting picked or whatever. You look at United's sort of record of the way we've handled youngsters. It's not been great post Sir Alex Ferguson. And I'd hate to see this kid get, not ruined, but spoiled somewhat because he's overplayed. So hopefully we give ourselves another centre-back option. But the main thing right now, obviously, is getting this deal done, because it's still not done yet.
Absolutely.
What are the comments saying, bro, before you give us some more?
Hit like on the video as well. If you're watching this and there's less than 600 likes, hit like on the video. In the comments, Colin Wilmot has been a member for 33 months. Legend. Thank you very much, Colin. Says, lads, I'm buzzing that we're getting the Yoro deal done, but I'd rather have Ligt. Our squad lacks leaders. There was a report earlier that United were looking at buying 2 players for under 100 million before the tour, and that was sort of in our heads, in the club's heads, as where we wanted to start. I can't remember who it was, but I remember thinking it was. I'll try and find it anyway.
because we don't know what's the actual base fee that's going to be legitimised. I think we won't know properly until we get the Here We Go.
I think it's somewhere in the region of £50 million. That's what it seems to be.
Yeah.
52 million that could go up to 60.
Because it's gone up with each report.
Ben Jacobs, who said United's aim was to make 2 quick signings before the US tour for under 100 million. Xerxes at 42 million euros. And Leny Yoro at 62 million euros, undergoing his medical. Obviously, put that together, it's under 100 million when it comes to pounds.
That
so
tweet underneath is haunting.
That seems to be what's going on.
That tweet underneath is haunting me, man. Remove that.
What is it? Yeah, the tweet.
There's a tweet right underneath the one that Joe's just read out, and it's a Fabrizio Romano tweet from the 28th of August 2022, because we've done the search for United 100 mil, and it says, Anthony to Manchester United, here we go, agreement in principle with Ajax, 100 million euro fee, contracts until June 2027 with option until 2028, to be signed tomorrow, contracts being prepared. It's Eredivisie, here historical record fee. Anthony will be in Manchester next week.
How many likes has that got?
Keep going, yeah. That's
367,000 likes.
Do you know 367,000 people were wrong, and that was probably one
they
of them.
weren't wrong. And that being next to this Yoro one, it doesn't mean that they're linked in any way. Obviously, just to reiterate, he's in Manchester for a medical as it stands. According to reports, Leny Yoro's in Manchester today for a medical today, which is obviously partly because we want to get that done before Real Madrid have a chance to go, actually, we'll give you 50 million.
And we're forgetting we've already had a few sales this summer. Mm-hmm. So we've actually we've just obviously finalised the Greenwood sale today as well, which is
it 30 million?
30 million euros, I believe.
Yeah, so that's quite a, for United standards, quite a big one.
And that'll be pure profit as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously it seems like we maybe sell Wan-Bissaka to West Ham, McTominay as well.
But McTominay's another one, but that's all profit.
I think Wan-Bissaka's more likely because he's got a year left on his contract. I don't think Ineos want to let him go for free.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And Wan-Bissaka's a bit of a, for what you want to say about him, I think that would be a bit of a tough loss. Do you know what I mean? Because he is such a specialist in being a better 1v1 defender, but it depends. I think if we get rid of him, United definitely need to look to replace him, no.
This is it. We can't be going into next season with fewer options in defence than we had last season. Because last season was an absolute shambles where you had left backs playing, or right backs playing at left backs. You had midfielders playing at centre back. You had an absolute merry-go-round across the back four. We can't be getting into that. And obviously, bringing in Leny Yoro, great. If we can get the Ligt, that'd be amazing. But like Ronnie was saying, if we lose Wan-Bissaka, we have to bring in a player. Because I don't think as well you can just say, oh well, we'll just throw in some youngsters. That's a recipe for disaster. I'm not saying these youngsters aren't good players. They are, but you can't just start throwing 17 and 18-year-olds into the Premier League if they're not quite ready.
I'm seriously, I came to this, and even after the first game of the pre-season game, I am so desperate for United to sell Casemiro as well, just to get his wages off the books, and also for the fact that he's just not the level and the caliber to like play for United right now, and I think he's a massive net negative, and I think he just will end up stopping the development of someone like maybe Collier even coming through. But the issue is because he's had such a huge decline and fall off, that his market has decreased as well.
I think the more he plays, the more that's going to happen. If he start him like in the season, if he does start in the Premier League and people are looking at him, I don't think his value is going to increase or stay the same.
And that's the thing. And he was meant to be touted to go to Saudi, and then I saw a report, I don't know how reliable it was, United District, saying that apparently there's actually zero interest from Saudi clubs at the moment in Casemiro, and I don't know where else we get a decent fee to sell him for, especially with the wages he's on.
It would have to be there.
Because something that has severely hurt United from the previous regime. So when you're looking at the fees that we are supposedly going to sell players for, and you're looking at them thinking, McTominay's worth more than that, Aaron Bissaka's worth more than that, why do we never get the true market value? And it's because of the wage budget from the previous regime and the wage structure, which is kind of hogtied us a little bit in our ability to sell players for their market value, because these players are on such crazy amount of money that they shouldn't be on usually. It makes it very difficult in transfer negotiations when you're trying to sell these players. So United have to kind of compromise it by making a transfer fee lower. So that's the reason. So if you do see transfer markets thinking, why are we only letting them go for 20 million? We should be getting 40 million for McTominay. you're not able to do that because where are we selling these players to? They're not going to want to pay the exact wages that we've paid them.
Because we're, as much as people want to knock us and take the piss, because we're one of the biggest clubs in the world, generally speaking, players only leave Man United because they weren't good enough for Man United. Like, there are exceptions to that, Ronaldo obviously being one of them, but typically, if you're leaving United, it's because we said it's not working out. Yeah. And because of that, you're going to a club that's smaller than Man United. Therefore, if you're giving them not just like market rate for a top club, but even inflated on top of that, no one that is a smaller club than United could ever afford the 350k a week that Casemiro's on. No. Like, or, you know, whatever McTominay's on. Just on Yoro, on his wages, the rumours were somewhere in the region of 150 grand per week, which I know is a lot of money, but is certainly even another contract or two away from being on like 300 grand.
By United standards, that makes you basically homeless.
Yes. I do believe, let me just double check quickly. People in the comments saying, where are we? Leny Yoro to Manchester United. Here we go from Fabrizio Romano. Deal in place after first part of medical completed. More tests to follow. Then he's ready to sign 5-year deal valid until June 2029. Lille and Manchester United have all the documents set for a deal worth 50 million euros plus several add-ons. So that is actually a good chunk cheaper than we've been seeing in other places. There seems to be a bit of a back and forth that it could be up to 70 million, but as 50 million euros, not pounds, that is in the ballpark.
You're laughing, the fluctuation is crazy.
About 42 million pounds rather than the 52 million that a lot of other people have reported. So that's the only little bit of
the only thing is,
back and forth.
I think Romano's the only one now that's stuck on that lower fee.
Right.
Because I think people were saying it was 50 million euros with add-ons, and then every other journal's then increased it incrementally over the past 48 hours.
But he's gone no.
And he's the one that's stuck on it. Which,
I'm right, they're wrong.
So it's going to be interesting to see what the actual final fee is, because you've got the two powerhouses in Ornstein and Romano that have come with different fees. I think it's the add-ons that have got everyone confused. But what I like about the way Romano's reported it is that he's told you what the base fee is before the add-ons, whereas a lot of the journals for clicks are doing the overall
better,
massive
if you go in
budget.
United spend 70 million whatever on a player, then if you're a United fan, you might be a little bit more excited about a bigger money signing. If you're not a United fan, you're like, oh, look at them spending loads of money and wasting it on some kid who's only played 60 odd games or whatever. Like, that's why they do it, innit? It's like Ronnie was saying, it's obvious why they do it, but look, you can see already, I don't want to get too carried away with Ineos, but you can see there is a bit more professionalism there and a little bit more negotiation, a little bit more sort of sense than what we've seen under the likes of Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold. I mean, we were going out, even when Ericsson and I came in, overspending on Anthony, overspending on Casemiro. Even Ericsson's contract looks a bit sort of ropey, doesn't it, in terms of the length of it and the amount of money he was on, considering the issues he'd had and the fact that his other option was Brentford. Even that one doesn't seem the bargain that perhaps it was painted at. So now you're seeing deals being done where you go, okay, 40 million or whatever it is for Joshua Zirkzee. That seems absolutely spot on, to be honest with you. I don't think it's over or under what you'd probably expect. The money we're paying for this kid seems about right. It's just, people might look at it and go, why are you getting excited, or why are you so giddy about the fact your club are acting like the way they should? Because we haven't. Since 2013, we've been absolutely shambolic in the transfer market. So when we start doing things the way they should be done, when we start bringing in, director of footballs and sporting directors and CEOs who've got footballing experience, when we start getting deals done relatively quickly for players that are going to add something to Manchester United for fees that aren't extortionate, we get excited.
I'm excited. I'm going to read it again. Fabrizio Romano on Twitter. Leny Yoro to Manchester United. Here we go. Deal in place after first part of medical completed. More tests to follow. Then he's ready to sign 5-year deal until June 2029. Lille and Man United have all the documents set for a deal worth 50 million euros plus several add-ons. This is exciting. Yeah. This is good. I know we already sort of knew that this was happening. Obviously, David Ornstein, he's coming for a medical. How often does that happen and then someone doesn't sign? But there is something, there's just a little juiciness to it. Here we go, isn't there? You can't deny it. Everyone wants to diss Romano. But when you see those words, there is something inside.
You know what Romano's like,
tickles
right? Romano is like Coldplay, isn't it? Like, Everyone, it's cool. It's like hip to hate him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I hate Coldplay, they're rubbish, and then you listen to the music and think they're not.
No,
they're
they are actually.
Yeah, they are actually mint, and they've just got banger after banger. And it's like Romano's fell off. Romano's isn't. You think, well, he's not. He's still got a lot of the stories, and he's still quite quick with the stories. It's just David Ornstein will get ahead of him sometimes. That doesn't mean he's shit.
Thought he was waiting for Locked and Loaded.
Yeah, well, apparently,
What's that?
There's all sorts of new,
your mate.
fake. Ronaldo thinks that if you follow someone
I love it when
Twitter,
Ronaldo treats you like you're an old man.
He's one of those people who goes, if he sees you watching a video of like Donald Trump, you must support Donald Trump. Like if you see something, you must agree with it. Let alone if you like it.
Do you know what I mean? It's part of his charm. So he's giving you grief because you were following a fake
Because I follow
account.
someone who is bullshit, basically. But I don't.
The amount of times Joe goes live when that guy tweets as well.
I do it every time. This is really exciting. I love this. Should we do Wally of the Week?
Yes, we shall.
And there's quite a few to choose from, I think, this week. There's a lot to get into.
Yes, there is. There are several. Wally of the Week. So any minute now, you will see a superb graphic appear on your screens to tell everyone that we are now entering the Wally of the Week section.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is. You see, bang on cue. Ronaldo Brown.
Who's my Wally of the Week?
Yeah, you've nailed it. You've nailed the question.
The MEN.
I'm not going to argue, but why?
The MEN and their main journal.
Okay. Is he like Voldemort? We're not naming him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you. If you want, you can do it.
Nah,
If you don't
Samuel Luckhurst.
Right, okay.
Is my Wally
Why
of
is
the
he a
Week.
Wally?
Why?
Because every single article he does on United irritates me. So I can't believe I've not made a Wally of the Week yet. And I thought his report earlier on the Euro deal was very strange. For a chief Manchester United correspondent to kind of propagandise for Everton in a United transfer was a bit weird. In a way, it almost sounded like an article that came straight from the mouthpiece of the Everton boardroom or Jared Branthwaite's agency in the way that it was kind of formulated.
Right, okay.
It seemed like...
Is this your reading
this is what I was
figures?
talking about.
That annoyed me.
The fee was extortionate. I think he posted an excessive fee that wasn't the correct amount straight away.
Is this? Did he get an community note?
He got community noted,
Yeah.
yes. And then on the next article, he just talked about how surprised and bothered and giving all Everton's opinion on the fact that we went and signed for Leny Yoro instead. It almost seemed like Luckhurst doesn't like when United aren't going for the great British hype of a player. I think I don't know, it seemed a bit seeded in a bit of a...
I think that's fair enough. Can I say mine next?
Yeah, of course you can.
The fucking Argentinian national team.
Yeah, I get this. I'm debating about two depending on what you're going to do, so I'll go with a different one, but yeah.
I mean, for those who didn't see it last night, there was I think actually it was the night before, technically.
Okay.
There was a video released after the Argentinian national team had won the Copa America, featuring front and centre Enzo Fernandez. I think it was his live Instagram even.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Singing a song that I think sort of had emerged around the 2022 World Cup final about Mbappe, basically accusing him of not being French because his parents aren't French.
Right.
That's the sort of the general gist of it.
Yeah.
Sort of just essentially a racist song about Mbappe. And as a result of that, I mean, first of all, they're all singing it, which is gross. And secondly, I think it was Wesley Fofana, who is Enzo Fernandez's teammate at Chelsea, publicly posted, like, this is what we're doing now. Is it just uninhibited racism in 2024?
Fair play to
he
him
unfollowed him on
out.
Instagram. I think Conor Gallagher unfollowed him on Instagram. There was another player as well that did. Basically, you're just singing a racist song on your Instagram Live, like that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's obviously going to cause some sort of, civil war within Chelsea's ranks, but who cares about that? But just the whole thing of like, that is what's going on. That's what people are doing. That's what footballers are doing about their fellow footballers. It's just ridiculous.
It's all very,
absolutely mental.
a bit gross. And I saw his apology as well, Enzo Fernandez, which bizarrely was written on like Microsoft Word in sans serif or whatever.
I've got it here. It was
a bit weird.
Yeah, Comic Sans, I think.
Comic Sans, sorry, forgive me.
Which is the least serious of all.
Yeah,
fonts,
it's
by
like,
the way.
why are we doing that?
He obviously, the apology doesn't hold weight. It's just PR.
Let me read the apology so people can hear it. I want to apologise sincerely for a video posted on my Instagram channel during the team national celebrations. Okay. The Instagram song includes highly offensive language and there's absolutely no excuse for these words.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm all right with that.
I stand against all forms of discrimination and in all forms and apologise for getting caught up in the euphoria of our Copa America celebrations. That video, that moment, those words do not reflect my beliefs or my character. I am truly sorry.
So he basically said, I'm so sorry. I was just racist because I was excited.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So please forgive me. It was just the fact that I've won the Copa America and I'm so happy. And when I get really, really happy, it makes me
just get a little bit racist.
Go word for word. Just makes me a bit racist.
It's not great, is it? And fair play to Wesley Fofana for publicly calling it out, because it's upset him, and rightly so. And some of his teammates seem to be backing him, which is good to see. Yeah. And like you say, it's for Chelsea to sort out the internal wranglings there, but you don't want to see it, especially if there was United players on the bus as well. I don't know what the script was there, but it's not great.
I don't think they were.
I don't know. Some people
Garnacho and Martinez, I don't think were featured.
Right,
in
but
the
it's just it's just obviously there's other players other than Enough Fernandez singing it, and obviously it's a song that can just get in the bin. To be honest with you, because you've chosen that. See, I don't want to get political, right? I don't. But can Liz Truss just shut up? Like, seriously. Why is she just running around the world giving her opinion on things like she's any sort of authority? She was in America talking about how Joe Biden's a weak leader, which, right, if that's your opinion, fair enough. There's lots of other people saying that. But you're not exactly in a position to talk about weak leadership. And then today I saw her tweeting about the King's speech and all the problems with it. And I think, and how, it's not great for the country. I thought, you nearly wrecked the economy after, 50 days in office? Who's convinced you're some sort of person in authority to speak with any sort of knowledge and experience on these matters? You're not even an MP anymore. You lost a 26,000 seat swing in your own constituency. Just pack it in.
It's like she thinks that British politics is the exact same as American, where you can just sort of say enough silly things that get enough clicks that you'll be popular again.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
No.
You look worse and worse by doing this. Not sort of like, she's a character for the right who like her. No one likes her.
No, she's just become absolutely delusional. It's embarrassing, and I feel embarrassed that she was our leader. I know I didn't vote for her, but that she was our Prime Minister. Anyway, I digress. Ronnie, thank you for joining us as always. I can't say for joining us. You're part of furniture on the Paddock Podcast, but I've enjoyed your insight on Leny Yoro, and yours as well, Joseph. Go and check out Ronnie on the not the Bird app anymore, on X. Go and check out Joseph on Sloppy Joes. You know where to find me. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe, and don't forget, you lucky people are going to get a third live vid today from us at Paddock. Me and Joseph are going to be live tonight at 10 p.m, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on this one. Thanks for watching.